Hey everyone, Nola here from Glam and Glory. I thought it would be very helpful to everyone and even for myself to talk about a quarantine level up as we are optimistically closing out 2020 and looking with joy and anticipation towards 2021, hoping that it brings a lot of better things, health, sense of calm, peace, joy, things that we don't necessarily think of when we think of the year 2020. I thought it would be helpful to talk about how we can level up during quarantine. Of course, we all wish that coronavirus was over and that we no longer were practicing these safety behaviors, social distancing, washing our hands constantly, limiting who we're surrounding ourselves with to people within our households, but that's not our reality. Hopefully with safety behaviors and the vaccine and all of the healthcare workers working as hard as they are, things will be better soon, but I still thought this was a relevant video to talk about how to level up during quarantine, since we will be continuing to quarantine and practice safety behaviors in 2021. So I hope that you all find this helpful. Please do like and subscribe if there's anything that I say that you feel is valuable or that helps you. So without further ado, I'll get right into it. So the first item that I think is really helpful in terms of quarantine that has been really beneficial for me is prayer. When I pray, I like to journal, so I will use my journal whether I'm reading the Bible or reading a prayer online or maybe doing a rosary or whatever I may be doing. I really like to write what comes to my mind so that I'm able to reflect back on it. I also really enjoy praying in groups, virtually of course. So in April actually, at the start of the pandemic, my family, we lost my grandfather, and at the same time my grandmother was actually sick with the coronavirus, and she was 90 at the time. She's 91 now. Praise be to God. So we would do a prayer every night on Zoom with my family at 7 p.m. and that was really, really helpful to get us through that difficult time. And even now still I enjoy just calling a cousin or calling a friend. It's FaceTime or just a phone call. I do really enjoy praying in groups, and I like writing because I like the ability to, reflect back on how maybe my spirit was moved a certain day or something that I was thinking about or a certain Bible verse that spoke to me at a certain time, and then I can kind of look back on that or, see what different things I was experiencing during that time. So for me, prayer and journaling has been a huge, huge help, and I would strongly recommend it. So that's the first tip. The second tip is meditation. You should treat it just the way you treat any other thing that you do that's good for you, whether it's exercise, drinking water. You may not feel the change or the benefit right away, but it is a good long-term habit. I am not a perfect meditator by any means. I consider myself a novice, but like I said, it does make, for me, it made a world of difference, and it's something that I hope I can keep long term. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't do it every day. I wish I did, but it's definitely something that when I do it, I can really feel that difference. And so originally I used the Calm app. One of my good friends from college had told me about it, and it was really, really great. There was a meditation that LeBron James led. It was just kind of really cool, and they had different stories that you could listen to, different almost like TED Talks. So there was traditional meditation, but then there was a lot of other resources on there as well, music, and it also was available to people who work in a clinical setting or who are healthcare workers for free for a certain amount of months. And then now I'm using Headspace, which also had a similar promotion for healthcare workers. You just had to fill out a form. So I've also really, really enjoyed Headspace. I really appreciate the British accents that are on Headspace. And it's just you can choose whether you want to do a minute of meditation, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It really varies. They also have sets for beginners. So you can do a beginner first set, and it's a set of 10 days. And so for me that was really nice because it made me feel like I was improving and progressing and working towards something, but really I'm just doing their beginner setup. But like I said, it does make, for me, it made a world of difference, and it's something that I hope I can keep long term. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't do it every day. I wish I did, but it's definitely something that when I do it, I can really feel that difference. So the third tip is to go outside and go for a walk. So something, or do anything outside really, but for me what I've been doing is walking. In the beginning of quarantine, I stayed inside all the time. Never, ever, ever went outside. And now I have been walking, I'd say probably at least once a day for the past few months, maybe like the past 3 months, and it's been amazing just to get fresh air. I always bring a mask with me in case I run into somebody, even though, usually I'll just cross the street. Being outside, being around nature, it makes me really, really happy, and it's been awesome during quarantine. Even now with, it's December and it's pretty cold outside, I still go. I'll put a scarf on, put on earmuffs, put on my big down jacket coat and go outside. And even if it's not for a long time, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes I'll do an hour. I think the most that I've ever done is maybe 3.5 miles at one time, but in any case, I strongly recommend going for a walk. It's a great family activity. It's awesome. So I can't stress it enough to get outside and do something for your body. Just move it. It's not easy to stay in the house. It's also extremely hard to even get to 10,000 steps when you're staying in the house and working from home and pretty much doing everything that you used to do in the outside world in your house. So again, I think exercising, going for a walk, highly recommend. My next tip is to do something creative. So something that same friend from college who told me about the Calm app also told me about bullet journaling. And while I wouldn't say I'm a bullet journaler yet, I have really enjoyed learning about the method and using some of those tips and tricks in my planner. And something that I really have enjoyed with it is the drawing that I'm able to do and doodling, and that's something that really has helped me through really difficult times this year. During 2020, as I know we all have had some difficult moments this year, but it really has helped me to just feel at ease, have something that's I don't have to focus, I can just draw and do whatever I want, and it's just a great stress reliever. And so I would say whatever that is for you, whether it's painting, doodling, doing coloring pages, doing an arts and crafts project, doing a puzzle, I think it's really important to disconnect. I mean, now because of the pandemic, we are very connected virtually, with our phones and our computers and Netflix and everything virtual. But I do think that doing something by hand, with our hands, drawing or painting or something like that, arts and crafts, does really, really help our mind to disconnect and relax and kind of, stay away from the phone for a little bit. So highly recommend to do something creative, whatever that may be. Maybe there's an art project that you've been wanting to do for a long time and have never gotten to it. Pinterest has tons of ideas. Fourth tip is get creative. The next one is to plan. And I know that may sound really weird since during the pandemic you really couldn't plan anything, or if you had trips planned, they all got canceled, or at least for most of us they got canceled. But I do say to plan, and what I mean by that is to focus on the things that you can control, since there is so much during this time that is out of our control and we can't change. So to focus on what we can change, what we can control. And so for me, I use a passion planner. I also have an Evo planner, but for me the Evo planner just doesn't have enough space or lines. But anyway, this is not about planners. I think it's really important to try to create a routine during this time that is unstructured for a lot of us. So for example, in March, millions of people went from going into an office every day to working from home every day. And so that made it really hard to have a routine because we were all used to getting up, Okay. We were used to getting up, getting ready in the morning, and driving to work. And then everything had to be virtual. And so I think it was really hard to get into a routine during March when it was like a 180-degree switch. Let's say at the end of the day, today I would plan what I plan to do tomorrow, and just doing that every day has really helped me maintain focus on what my small goals are, my immediate wins, things that I am able to do now, things that have not been derailed by the pandemic. And for me, that's been really helpful, especially when, if you turn on the news, none of it is good really recently, and I find that focusing on what you can control within your immediate circle, that is really helpful so that you don't feel powerless in this situation that is really bigger than what we can do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we don't have influence to make an impact on different situations. We absolutely do, but at the same time, I think focusing on what we have control over is really helpful during this time. My next tip is to eat, and what I mean by that is eating on a schedule. For me, when I'm working at home, even when I was working in the office, but especially now that I'm working from home, sometimes I can go a whole day without eating. It's very easy to sit at my desk and to work and to have back-to-back meetings or to have different things to do. Emails are coming in, different tasks are being assigned, and for me to not block out the time to go eat. So I think it's really important now that we are doing so much at home to make sure that you're really carving out that time for meals. Eat breakfast in the morning. Don't just roll out of bed and turn on your laptop. Eat breakfast, get your tea, get your coffee, get water, get snacks. Carve yourself a lunch break just the way you would have taken when you were at work, even though I know a lot of people just, work through lunch and eat while they're working, which is fine, but just make sure you're eating. I think it's easy during this time to let things go, whether that's not eating, overeating. We want to eat so that we're maintaining a healthy lifestyle, especially since I think that for a lot of people we're moving less than we were moving before the pandemic. So that's the next one, is eat. Very important, very critical. And also, this is a great time to try new recipes and new foods while you're at home. So I would also say that that's a great plug too, that to go along with this tip is to try cooking some new dishes. So for the next tip, it is connection. It's unfortunate that IRL has become an abbreviation that's used a lot this year in real life, because we're not seeing so many people in real life. A lot of us are seeing those that we live with, those who, are our neighbors that are in our close bubble, but we're not seeing everyone that we used to see, coworkers, friends, acquaintances, etc. And so I think it's really important to do more than we normally would to build that connection. So, maybe it's just doing a FaceTime call with your aunt or your friend, or maybe it's scheduling Zoom using Blue Jeans. There's so many apps now, Google Meet. There's apps where you can play games right on the app. I've heard of something where you can watch TV with other people in other places. Just make sure that you're building connection. For me, I love sending letters and cards to those that I care about. I just love it. I'm very old-fashioned, I guess, so I really enjoy putting a card in the mail. Texting, of course, is great. I know you may feel isolated, but to try to break out of that and to really reach out to those that you care about, just send a text hey, just wanted to see how you were doing. I know we haven't talked in a while, but I want to let you know I was thinking of you. I feel like those small gestures can really go a long way, and during this time, it's a better time now than ever to let people know that you care about them and that you're thinking about them. So definitely, I would say, foster that connection, reach out to people, even if you haven't heard from them in a long time. It still is a really great time to reach out. So can't say it enough, is connection, connection, connection. Another thing I'll say before going to the next point is that, in the workplace, think about how you're connecting with your colleagues. If you're a leader, or if you're not a people leader, you can be the person that says, hey, why don't we do a virtual happy hour? Why don't we do a weekly huddle or every other week where everyone gets on a meeting and you can share obstacles that have come up, how you've overcame them. You can have a meeting to celebrate wins that people have done for the week. So that way, rather than focusing on, all the pivoting that has to get done, all of the changes that are coming, how can you focus on the successes? So I think even in your professional life, that I would really suggest the same thing, trying to build that connection. For me, it's been really, really helpful. The next tip for leveling up during quarantine is to give yourself grace. I know it's a lot easier said than done to give yourself grace and be kind to yourself. However, it is so paramount and important, especially during this time that is really stressful. I think a lot of us, especially, type A people like myself, I'm owning up to it. And just in general, even if you're not type A, it's easy to be really hard on yourself and to say, why aren't you getting more things done? Why aren't you being more productive? Why are you doing this, that, X, Y, Z? But it's really critical, I would say, to your mental health and your overall well-being to be kind to yourself and to give yourself grace and to treat yourself the way that you treat your best friend. Because you may notice that we are really kind to those who are close to us, and to our best friends we treat them with gloves and we're like, oh, don't worry, you've got this. But we don't do the same thing for ourselves. Instead of saying, you've got this, you're fine, we really are hard on ourselves, and I think it can be a really dangerous path. And I know that we all do it and we all have negative self-talk, but I would say to try to catch it, try to turn it around, and to really pick yourself back up. So that tip is give yourself grace. I know it's not easy, but try really hard to be kind to yourself because you deserve it, and treat yourself. Do whatever makes you feel happy, whether it's doing a face mask, taking a bath, working out, whatever it may be. Do it if that's what you feel that you need. Take care of yourself. The next one is to invest in yourself. So it kind of piggybacks on give yourself grace, but I thought that investing in yourself is really important because there are so many people who have, dusted off different instruments during quarantine, gotten back to old hobbies, started new hobbies, and I think it is essential and wonderful to do those things. It's the perfect time to learn, to do something that you really wanted to do for a long time, but you haven't made the time or you didn't want to spend the money. I think a lot of us are spending a lot less money on food. We're not eating out, at least not as much. Even if you are ordering in, sometimes you're still probably not spending as much as you used to spend on food. And so I think it's the perfect time to, get that thing that you wanted and to really try something new. For me, I ordered this camera and I am filming this video, something that I've thought about doing for a long time, for years, but never did it, and now I've decided to do it, and I think you should do the same thing too. You only live once, and so it's important, and why not start it during quarantine? It's the perfect time. And so my last tip is a tip that when I say this tip, I think of one of my great friends, Haley, and it is get a hype man or a hype woman. So for example, Haley is my hype woman. If ever I'm feeling down or I'm beating myself up, if I'm not following Rule 8, give yourself grace, then I can call her and I can tell her what I'm feeling, and she will encourage me, support me, and really build me up. And I think, in life you always know people who may not be the most optimistic people, and it's fine that not everyone has different levels of optimism, and some people are really realistic, some people are a little bit pessimistic, but I think it's really, really important that we have people who are gonna build us up and who are gonna pour into us and who are gonna help us grow and really pick us up when we're feeling down, or if we're doubting ourselves, underestimating ourselves, the person who says, you can do this. And so it's important that you identify who that is for you and really reach out to them when you need them. Because during quarantine, again, it can be a time of isolation, a time of great sadness, a time of loss. And so how can we pour into others? How can we lift others up? So I hope some of this was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these level up tips. I look forward to leveling up even more in 2021. And with that, I'll say thank you. Keep living with intention, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.